That should bring this dumbass plot thread to a close. Ow! The hell was that for? So I lost $100 in the last video. Apparently you don't pick that many locks in the Hello Neighbor games. What do you know? Well, rather than cut my losses, I'm going to make another bet, this time for $200, but you are going to have to wait till the end of the video to hear my terms. Anyway, we're on to the next book, Waking Nightmare. As winter descends on Raven Brooks, Nikki descends into a paranoid state, observing the comings and goings of his neighbor, Mr. Peterson. Aaron and Maya have, apparently, been sent to live with their Aunt Lisa, but Nikki suspects Mr. Peterson is lying about that too. With the help of his friends Trinity and Maritza, Nikki attempts to solve the mystery of Aaron's whereabouts and maybe unearth more about Mr. Peterson. But can he balance this out with a sudden crop of nightmares and the ongoing drama in Raven Brooks itself? So the saga continues. I know the Missing Pieces review was on the shorter side, but now that I've read Waking Nightmare, I finally have some thoughts I really want to talk about. To start off, there's a certain character trait of Nikki's that I didn't bring up in the last review because I didn't think it bore that much relevance to Missing Pieces' story, but here it finally seems to be relevant. Nikki has a habit of sleepwalking and experiencing vivid nightmares related to the ongoing mysteries in his life. In the last book, they mention his grandmother who was scared for him, fearing him to be a wanderer who would naturally attract trouble. Imagery of him trapped in a shopping cart recurs in his dreams, and we learn in Waking Nightmare that when he was 3 years old, his grandmother abandoned him in a shopping cart at a grocery store in a mentally addled attempt to teach him a lesson about wandering off. I bring this up now because it's either going somewhere or it isn't. I don't know if paranormal elements factor in the Hello Neighbor games, but it seems to me like they're building up Nikki to be some kind of clairvoyant who can unearth hidden truths in his dreams, as many of his dreams in Waking Nightmare mirror events that play out later in the story. Will this come to a head in the third book? I hope they go somewhere with this, because if he's truly having these prophetic dreams just for the sake of exposition, then that's just lazy storytelling. Or worse, it's eerily similar to something I criticized in the Faz books called night malaise. For those who don't know, I diagnosed the Faz books with medical conditions based on recurring tropes I noticed throughout the stories. And night malaise is when a character experiences nightmares that reveal no new information and/or make up for a lack of genuine horror in the story. Waking Nightmares teeters on the edge of night malaise. Sure, the dreams foreshadow events to come and reveal character info, but there's only 1 or 2 moments in this entire book that I'd call horror that aren't a vivid nightmare. So I guess while it technically isn't night malaise, it does hint at what I consider a narrative shortcoming. And if Nikki's wandering or whatever is given a formal explanation, then I'll retract all that I said, but for now, I'm on edge. So while Nikki isn't having these dreams, as I said before, he's scheming to figure out what happened to Aaron and Myra, he's trying to discover what Mr. Peterson's up to, and he's trying to deal with EarthPro, this land development company that wants to buy out the property that Golden Apple once owned. Yeah, there's a land development subplot in this book. The town's voting on it and everything.
You used me for land development. That wasn't nice.
Also, there's drama between Nikki's father and his editing partner on whether or not to publish a story that will sway public opinion on both the land and Mr. Peterson. There's Brenda Yee, the woman whose daughter Lucy died in the roller coaster accident years prior. Not to mention the falling out between Nikki and his other friend Enzo, his mother wanting to leave a good impression with the science team. There's a lot to unpack with this book. And yet, strangely enough, I didn't mind it. Each subplot is well defined and given their proper attention. I never felt lost or overwhelmed. There was clearly a lot of care put into making sure that everything meshed and concluded properly. It's actually kind of impressive. Now, what does this mean for the book as a whole? Well, all my praises aside, it means that 1, I wouldn't really call this a pulse-pounding horror story, it's more a drama, and 2, it just feels like more build-up for the next book. Missing Pieces was build-up to Waking Nightmare, and I feel like Waking Nightmare is just build-up to Buried Secrets. At least with the Silver Eyes trilogy, each book felt contained with their own unique conflicts, despite them all leading into each other. With these books, however, it feels like one story split into three. I could not see myself reading one of these books individually out of order, as opposed to something like Harry Potter or The Dark Tower. Heck, with the Silver Eyes trilogy, I could see myself reading one of those books individually. You know, if I actually like them enough to do so. And it also makes me wonder just how much of this stuff actually features in the Hello Neighbor games. Do the Ys or the Espositos or Earth Pro or Golden Apple feature this extensively in the games, or are they briefly mentioned in the games and only fleshed out in the books? From what I've been hearing, the game's lore is pretty puzzling already, so it might be another situation where you have to buy a whole-ass book series just to understand what the hell is going on. Mimic. There's a conversation to be had about the efficacy of hiding important pieces of lore in spin-off media, and trust me, we'll have that conversation in the future. And believe me, it's not an issue with the story itself, it's an issue with the property and how it's handled and how it could potentially exploit its fans. Anyway, the story ends with the town voting to let Earth Pro move in after an emotional appeal by Brenda Yi. Mr. Peterson is shown digging up and burying mannequins in the ruins of the old amusement park. Nikki discovers proof that Aaron and Maya aren't at their Aunt Lisa's, and Mr. Peterson is onto him now. Which brings me to my $200 bet. As someone who knows nothing about Hello Neighbor's story, I bet that Mr. Peterson's end goal is to create the perfect family out of robot mannequins, and that he's been killing off his real family one at a time, and that the basement is where he performs these Frankenstein-esque experiments to breathe life into the robot mannequins. We can pack it up, folks. The story's solved. Give me my $200. But of course, we can't properly conclude this review series without reviewing the last book in the trilogy, Buried Secrets. And as always, I will see you all next time.